guys, and welcome back to the second video in this lettering series. Today I wanted to talk about how I actually practice lettering and how I practiced when I first was starting out. So you will see all over the internet, everybody has their own way of practicing. There are some people who really like doing drills. So drills, for example, would be when you practice certain shapes that you make when you do calligraphy. For example, you've got the kind of hump of like an N or an H, you have a U kind of shape, you've got circles, so like for a B or a D, you've got, and actually that's about all I know because I actually never did drills when I was starting out. So if you are looking for something like this, there are a ton of resources out there. Just kind of Google, brush lettering drills, calligraphy drills, that sort of thing. But the way that I actually practiced was by just picking words and writing them over and over. Now, this might seem kind of haphazard, and you would be correct, it is. But I thought I would show you guys a little bit. This is actually my calligraphy and hand lettering practice notebook. So when I first got it, as I mentioned in the last video, I actually started out doing things like faux calligraphy. So for example, this is faux calligraphy, this one all the way down at the bottom. So I started out doing faux calligraphy, and actually I believe this is faux calligraphy as well. And eventually was, I was trying using the brush tip, and it really wasn't working out super well for me. You can tell I had, lines that were thick when they should have been thin, and vice versa. I didn't have a lot of control over what I was doing. So what I actually ended up doing is I basically just filled over half of this notebook with practice. So I actually went through and I did most of these pages first, and then I went back and I was using the backs of pages because I just wanted to, I didn't want to waste the pages. And so you'll see here, for example, this, I would practice lettering while I was watching TV, for example, and I would just pick whatever was being said on screen or the characters that I saw or whatever. So you can see I was watching Supernatural here. I had Harry Potter. There's a lot of Harry Potter in here. And let's see, and I would also just repeat different things. So for example, doing the double R's is something that has always given me trouble. And so I would repeat, for example, Harry a couple of times. Let's see, I think I actually have. So sometimes I would do actual alphabets as I was going through, but let's find a nice example of, so for example, this is a really good example of how I would sometimes practice. I basically did first faux calligraphy, so I kind of could see how I wanted, or how the downstrokes would look, basically, where I actually would have downstrokes that needed to have thicker lines. And then I basically just kept writing it. And you'll see here that I actually used two different pens. So I used the Lyra brush pen, so the brush side on like these, and I used the Pentel Touch sign pen on these, the ones that are smaller. And I just basically did an entire page of one word. What I also like to do is you can kind of see, I was playing around with things like bouncy lettering, and everything is really on the same line, and I just extended the bottom of it. But this was basically how I would practice. So this one I did chocolate in French. I actually might have been watching the movie, I don't even know. Or I might have been eating chocolate. It's honestly kind of up for grabs which one that is. And basically, that is how I kept practicing. So I had this particular quote. I did this quote 4 times. And, every time I did a little bit different. I tried different styles of letters. So for example, you've got more sort of normal and then more of like a bouncy, embellished kind of lettering. And basically that is what this notebook is. And even as I got better, so for example, I was practicing sort of block kind of letters in here. So basically anytime I wanted to try something out, this was actually a lettering challenge. This is a great way to practice. This one I specifically was focusing on writing in different styles. We'll see the second page here, writing in different styles, but it's also just a great way to practice your standard brush calligraphy. I've done alphabets, and this notebook is pretty much just covered in my random, at times horrible brush lettering. I was playing with doing backwards and forwards writing. And that's basically how I practiced. And the reason why I practice this way is I get bored. I started calligraphy as a hobby. I never intended it to be something I did for money. It was only ever something that I wanted to do for fun. And so when I first started and I was watching videos, I realized very early on that for me, doing drills was not going to be the way that I kept at it. Now, if this is something that you want to do as, a side career or something like that, then absolutely doing drills and practicing, just repeating those shapes over and over is very helpful. It definitely will help you improve. But for somebody who is just doing this kind of as a little hobby, something that you would like to get better at, but maybe are not willing or able to spend a ton of time on it, this I found was the best way for me to practice. So once I actually kind of figured out in here, after doing pages and pages of practicing in these notebooks, I actually started doing brush lettering in my bullet journal. So I'll give you a look at my current bullet journal. So you'll see I actually have, if you've seen any of my other bullet journaling videos, you'll see that I've kind of changed a lot. But one thing that I consistently do is for my month level spreads, I do brush lettering. This is something that I've done almost since I started. Basically, once I really felt comfortable with brush lettering, I used my bullet journal as a way to practice. So whenever I had the chance, I actually did my gratitude log entirely in hand lettering and brush lettering. And this is actually how I practice. And if I go back through and look at my old bullet journals, I can see that I have made great strides just in the year that I've been practicing without actually dedicating a lot of specific practice time, but just by finding ways of incorporating it into things that I'm already going to be doing. And it's been really great. Like I still like to hand letter. I do spreads like this where I actually will, letter a quote. I've done it less in this particular journal than I used to. I have started doing with, I've got a water brush pen here. I've started doing watercolor brush lettering, and it's honestly just kind of developed on its own. If I go back and if I look at my first spreads, it's amazing to see the difference. And to be perfectly honest, I have never, ever done drills. So if this is more of a resource, if you are not looking to make this into kind of a way to earn money, but if you are just interested in having a fun hobby to do on the side, the best way that I have found to learn is just by writing words over and over. And by doing that, you'll have seen through this notebook that I would sometimes do alphabets when I was trying to figure out how I wanted certain letters to look. Every once in a while, I'll take a specific letter and just write it over and over until I kind of get the feel for it. But honestly, just having fun with it and just writing the words that came to mind, while you're watching TV or using it in your notebooks or whatever, just steadily doing that. I mean, I probably do some form of brush lettering every day, but it's not practice per se. In my brain, it's not actually practice because I don't sit down with a blank piece of paper now and just, do drills over and over and over. At this point, I very rarely actually use this notebook for anything other than testing out certain things. Let's see, what is the last page I even had on here? So if you're interested in getting better at brush lettering, but you don't necessarily have the time or want to dedicate a lot of time to doing drills or writing alphabets over and over and over again, I can say from experience that, at least for me, practicing writing different words over and over really helped. And honestly, you will eventually pick words that contain letter combinations that you want to practice. And at some point, I actually stopped using my Rhodia pad as my practice journal. I very rarely write in here anymore, except if I want to try a new font out or show things to friends, give them like a little demo on lettering or whatever. But honestly, the main way that I practice, if you will, now is just by actually writing in my bullet journal. I letter a lot in my bullet journal, whether it's brush lettering or just standard hand lettering, block letters, that kind of thing. But I write in this every single day, and I tend to periodically hand letter quotes in here. I have done birthday cards for people. I've done signs, and just that continual practice every day, it helped me get better without actually feeling like practice. It actually just felt like fun because I was using lettering to spice up something that I was already going to be doing. So if you guys have any questions or comments, let me know. I would be really curious to see how you guys have actually progressed in hand lettering. What's the tactic that you use to learn? Do you prefer doing drills? Do you like just writing random words? If you guys have any other tips, then I would be really excited to hear them, because I obviously am still learning. It doesn't always come out exactly the way that I would want to either, but it's always fun to kind of play around. So I will see you guys in the next video. Again, if you have any questions or anything you want to specifically see in this series, any videos that you would like to see or information you'd like to hear about, drop a comment down below, and I will do my best to incorporate the answers to those questions in future videos. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.